Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. You're here, I'm pleased, I really feel your company. Your style, your smile, your pace mentality. Lord, have mercy on me. I was blind, now I can see what a king's supposed to be.
Excuse me, miss. I was in the waiting room when you gave your testimony. And what I realized is that we have an enemy in common. While you were being called to the office again, I was being put out the only home I've ever known. While you were shaking with anxiety and fear over something no one ever wants to hear, I was shaking in dread. Because we all know what happens to little girls that have no home and no one to claim them. I think our souls passed each other by. See, my soul left me a long time ago in a dingy motel room, ripped away by brutal force. It fled, unable to find its way back home.
Historical people, who would you want in your seat and why?
Wow. I guess because I'm different. You know, I'm not really starstruck. And so it would be hard to really pinpoint anybody in particular. First person that just came to my mind, you know, I mean, if I had an opportunity to cut Denzel, you know, I would.
That's a good one.
I'd do that.
That would be a dope conversation.
Exactly.
How important is diversity in your work, considering you grew up in a bilingual, bicultural home?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very important. I think at this point, just in society, there's just so much diversity. You know, whether it be in language, whether it be in your upbringing, whether it be, you know, in whatever that is. And so I think growing up in, you know, a bilingual household as well as really a bicultural, despite the fact that, you know, my parents are you know, both of Hispanic descent, but growing up in two different cultures of, you know, very traditional values in the home and very different, and sometimes similar values, right, outside of the home, but in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And so
he tests those whom he loves. I pray he continues to love me till my death. I pray he continues testing me and testing me and testing me until I have no questions left. Until I can ingest knowledge and choke on lies and spit out truth with every breath. But you see, until love for what he loves and hate for what he hates is the only thing that's left within my chest. I know that I will constantly fight to love what's right because I was created with a heart that sits slightly to the left. But I'm okay with that. Because I always knew and always know that he knows exactly what is best. You see, he knew that it would only be a matter of time before I would open my eyes and finally realize that I needed to look deep down inside and pull out the divide so that my heart and my mind would collide and learn to work together.
and also Black Women Lawyers Association of TARRANT Community Service Award. Online community, y'all put some hand claps in the chat for Miss Charlotte Hogan-Price. What's going on, Miss Charlotte?
Hey, I'm here.
You're here. How's everything going? How life going? How life
Life
treating
is,
you?
life is going good.
Okay.
I can't complain.
That's what I like to hear. I know we talked offset. I don't want to build it from the bottom up. So I guess just take a moment to share with our online community your journey through Macon, Georgia, and coming all the way out here to Texas. Take us from the bottom to the top.
Oh my God, I don't think we have enough time.
Whatever you want to share. This your story.
I've been around a long time, I'm telling you, and I have a lot of stories.
Right.
But being born in Macon, Georgia.
Sorry, redo the introduction. We missed it.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Just that part. Just start.
This one? She is born in Macon, Georgia, but raised in Forest Hill in Fort Worth, Texas. Third oldest of 13 siblings. Forest Hill Library Board trustee since 2003. Volunteer work through the Forest Hill Youth Association in elementary schools. Elected second vice president through the TERRELL Alumni Association since 2023. League of Women Voters Special Service to Children Award, and Black Women Lawyers Association of Tarrant County Ruth E. Roberts Community Service Award. Y'all put some hand claps in the chat for Miss Charlotte Hogan-Price. All right, we are back. Just pick up where you left off and kind of share with the online community your journey in Macon, Georgia.
Okay. Being born in Macon, Georgia, those were my humble beginnings. We were a poor family, but back then I was born in 1948.
Mm.
So I didn't know I was poor the way we were raised. But I can tell you, we lived in a shotgun house, which was 2 rooms. We had 2 steps in front and about 15 in the back. We lived off an alley. And I don't know if you know anything about slop jars, but we had slop jars in the house because our outdoor toilet was what we had to use when we needed to go to the restroom.
Wow.
Didn't have a kitchen, had a wood burning stove, I think, and we had an ice man that would come by and sell us ice in the summertime when it was hot. In the winter, I remember seeing cardboard around the walls of the house to keep the house warm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, it was devastating. When I started school, we had to walk miles and miles to school. When we walked to school, we had a long way to go, but I remember walking past, when we finally got to streets, since we lived off an alley.
Right.
I mean, I didn't see concrete for a long time.
Wow.
So when I saw streets, I saw a bus, I saw cars, and I said, oh my God, where did these things come from? So we got to this house with these little white kids out watering the grass. And when we walked by, they would take the water hose and wet us from head to toe.
Wow.
I later found out that they would use water hose or fire hose for black people. And they were just imitating what they were taught.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the next day we found some friends. And we said, we're gonna walk by this house one more time. If they're watering grass, we're gonna water them.
Mm.
So that's what happened the next day. We had a couple of guys to grab the water hose, and we just dished them all over, and we ran all the way to school. That was our fun time.
Wow.
But my school was very important. I only went first, second, third, and half of the 4th grade, because I was a 4th grader when we came to Texas.
Right.
But the teachers were very concerned, and even my teachers, when I got to Fort Worth, it was just like being educated in a segregated setting it just seemed normal. because it seemed that they looked out for us. They didn't care if we had holes in our shoes, raggedy clothes, or whatever. They still wanted us to get an education.
Exactly.
So that was very important to us. Also in Georgia, I remember looking up in the sky, wondering, how high does it go? What's beyond those clouds?
Mm.
And my first airplane trip, I wanted a window by the seat, a
Wow.
seat by the window.
Right.
So that I could take pictures of the clouds. I'm actually up here with the clouds, and it's still something above the clouds. So I still didn't know how high it went. But it was just so devastating. And I remember my mother, she had 7 girls, but she never knew how to do hair.
Mm.
And when I was in the 3rd grade, the kids laughed at me. You know, I had plaits. We didn't braid back then, we had plaits. Plaits was going every which way on my head. As you see now, I'm trying to rock a pro and still can't rock it, but I learned, I told my mother she'd never have to do my hair again. I would learn to do my own hair.
Wow.
When I learned to do my hair, I did neighborhood hair. When the working women found out I could do hair, because when I got to TERRELL, I was in cosmetology.
Wow.
That's how I made money to get through my senior year, to buy my prom dress, my sorority, my dresses for parties and stuff like that. So anyway, that was one thing that I did. But when we moved to Georgia, we moved from Georgia to Texas, that was a challenge, because we had to load up all the belongings that we had, which wasn't that much. But I remember my 4th grade teacher had all of my classmates to sign their name and address so that we could stay in touch. But I lost that. I wish I could have kept that, but I lost it. I remember some of the names, but if I could see some of those people now, just to see where they are and what they're doing. But another thing, while we were in Georgia, I told you we had 2 steps in front and 15 in the back. We had to make our own games, and we had something called rocks. Now you would put a rock in a hand, and then you had to figure out which rock it was in.
It was in, yeah.
Did y'all play that?
No, I'm following you. I'm just following your lead. I'm young.
We made this game up.
I'm a young guy.
But anyway, the one who got to the bottom of the step, then the next one would take over. So that's the way we spent our time. Also, our house off this alley was next to a chain gang. You know what a chain gang is? Prisoners. But anyway, we would walk through there also just to pass time. And we found this huge tree with a cable, and it was like a swing. And I mean, it was overlooking a cliff with red clay. And I thought, God, if we fall off this swing, we're gonna fall down there.
Oh my God.
But we never did. And then in the back, I talked about this slop jar and this outdoor toilet. I wonder why we never got our feet cut or anything, because it was just a field back there where the toilet was, where the outdoor toilet was. And you know, those were hard times. I'm telling you, I just can't believe I went through all this. Another game we played was, we made tom walkers. Have you ever heard of tom walkers?
I never heard of that.
Okay. Tom walkers is a ghetto name for stilts.
Oh,
We made our
okay.
stilts. We found a piece of wood and some cans and nailed them to the wood, and we could walk on them like stilts.
Wow, that's crazy. Y'all were very creative
We
back
had to
then.
pass the time away. Now listen, also, I made my own thongs. I would trace my feet, stick 3 holes and found the string or some cord and time to hold that wood, and maybe that's why we didn't get our feet cut too. So, we had to be very creative.
Wow.
Anyway,
Wow.
enough of that.
Going back to you being the 3rd oldest of 13 siblings, how was that relationship in regards to you and your siblings?
Oh, that relation was awesome, only because I had an older brother and an older sister who taught me survival of the fittest. I mean, I learned so much from those 2. Even my brother, as he studied for his poems, his English, his tests, I could see him polishing his boots, his brass, because he was in the ROTC.
Mm.
This was when he was senior in high school. My sister, she was beauty plus, Miss Personality, everybody loved her, and she thought everybody loved her. But anyway, the teachers, when I got to TERRELL, they expected the same thing they got from them. So I had to be twice as good. You know, I couldn't fail, I couldn't do anything less than what they had done.
Right.
But the girls under me, of course, like I told you, my mother couldn't do hair. I had to do their hair. Boy, and they hated when I had to do their hair, because I didn't want to do it, and I'm snatching hair, and I'm tightening it, plaiting it tight as I can. Turn your head around, move your hair. Anyway, but then when the Jerry curl came out,
I remember the Jerry curl.
I made bukus of money with the Jerry curls. My shag carpet smelled like that juice. I'm telling
Oh my
you.
God.
But the guys, I mean, I never knew of a product that could take our kinky hair and straighten it out and make it look so good on the curve.
Wow.
But that was the going thing, really. And I appreciated that. I kept my rods, I kept that, and that was another way I made extra money. So
Yeah, you was a hustler.
I was a hustler.
Going back to Iron TERRELL, I know that you are an alumni, class of 1966,
Mhm.
correct? Take a moment to share with our viewers and listeners the backstory of Iron TERRELL and what Iron TERRELL means to you.
TERRELL, I'm telling you, I had to be deathly ill to miss school, and I was very seldom sick because I loved going to school. I loved my teachers. I took homemaking. I took cosmetology, like I said. I took sewing. I learned to make clothes. We had to learn 100 lines of poetry. But listen, before this, I have to tell you about my junior high.
Go
Because
ahead.
my junior high was good too.
Go
No,
ahead, Miss
because
Shirley.
I went from Carroll Peak Elementary to James E. Gwynn Junior High School. I had a 7th grade teacher that she looked so young. She was so pretty. Her makeup, her hair, her dress, everything was immaculate. And this lady, I know she cared about us. And she taught me, let me say this, Uro fede de la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la República, la cual esta es una nación bajo días invisible con libertad y justicia para todos. She taught me this.
Wow. Hold on, Miss
No,
Shirley.
she taught me this
Wow.
in the 7th grade. When I enrolled in college, now this was back when you didn't have to take math if you knew a language. So I chose Spanish. When I went into my Spanish class, and of course, I was a little older, and I would always sit in the front because I wanted to grasp all the education that I could. And when I would start speaking in Spanish, everybody's looking around at me. How in the hell did she learn to speak Spanish like that? Because I had a black teacher who taught me, baby, and she taught me well, and I listened. So anyway, TERRELL. It was just, it just meant so much, you know, to be able to go to school, and that was enough. I had to walk a long way from where we lived on the south side to TERRELL. Woo, still hadn't stopped walking yet. But I had a classmate who had a car. She would drive, I know you know where the Hillside Park is.
Yes, I do.
She would drive from the Hillside Park and come up Fathom Street over by the old Grand Theater. And because we lived the Flint's house, which was there on Tennessee and TERRELL, and it was Hattie and then Cannon. We lived on the corner of Cannon and Virginia. And she would pick me up every morning and take me to school. I loved her to death. That was my best friend since 4th grade. And another thing about this best friend in the 4th grade, she would come from her house to my house. That's when we lived on Maddox. When we first came to Texas, we had a bathroom. We had a kitchen. We had bedrooms. I was just so happy, you know, but I was in the 4th grade then. I'm going back and forth, but y'all can put 2 and 2 together. But anyway, she would come to my house and we would walk to school together. As we walked to school, as soon as we left my house, there was this car parked over to the curb. And And we looked over in the car, and this was a white man with his private exposed. We looked at each other, and here we go, running again. I mean, I ran a lot in my life, I guess. We ran all the way to school and swore we wouldn't tell anybody. But we should have told somebody. We didn't know what that was, why he was doing it to us. But if we had more sense, we probably should have had a brick and threw it in his front window. But see, we didn't know that then. But this is what people were doing to us.
Yeah.
Pedophile is what it was. Preying on young black girls. And you know, in my history, you see where I made a sign in my living room, Georgia on our minds, when they were killing blacks in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And that touched my heart because I had 2 sons. And I said, oh no, they had organized what do you call it, where you travel from one place to the other.
March.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but we were in cars, motorcade, motorcade. And we had so many people, we had to load in with each other. And the police cooperated with us because we were doing it for a reason. And we were able to go from Riverside Drive and Berry to the steps of the courthouse. And of course, I had an office in the courthouse then. And we stood on that front of those steps with that sign, Georgia on our minds. And the next day, that picture was on the front page of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. So, things that you're compassionate about, you're gonna speak up for, and you're gonna try to do something about it. You get labeled as a bad person, a troublemaker, and anytime you speak for us as black people, you're gonna get labeled. You're gonna get knocked down. You show Jesus, you know, I don't worry about that. I just do it. Because all the recognitions that I've received, I didn't do them for any pats on the back.
Right.
I did it because it came from the heart.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always been, and that's the way I'm gonna leave here being. Because people are important to me, but children are more important.
Yeah.
And then our seniors, because they've lived their life. And hopefully one day, I am a senior now, but I hope to be an old senior. Old senior.
Wow. Where did that resilience and drive come from? The fact that you were able to have the boldness to put together this sign to make sure that you guys were heard, that they come from your parents or people you grew up with?
You know what, I think leaders are not made, they are born. And that was something within me that gave me the strive to do that. You know, it was just, like I say, I had 2 sons. And this was Georgia. I mean, I could have still been in Georgia.
Right.
And those could have been my boys. So it was just something that touched the inside of me, that I had to do it.
Wow. How are your relationship with your children? Considering at that time you were a single mother trying to make ends meet, make things work, to provide.
You know what? I could kick myself in the rear for my children because I love them so much. And I tried to be a mother and a father.
Yeah.
Because my boy's son left when they were 4 and 5 years old.
Wow.
He was incarcerated. So they spent most of their lives, weekends and holidays, at a federal penitentiary. By the time they got 14 and 15, they said, man, if you come back, we're not coming to see you anymore. We're tired of coming down here. I said, why did y'all tell your dad that? Mama, we see you tired. We know you driving down here from one highway to the other just to take us. I said, but you need to know who your dad is. They love their dad, they don't care what. They love their dad. But by the time they were in junior high, I sent them to a college preparatory school in Rome, Georgia. Because I wanted them to get away from the gang violence and the juvenile crime.
Right.
Because I had a nephew who was shot and killed. He was home on spring break. He was not a gang member. But that was my son's role model.
Wow.
They loved him. He played basketball. They played basketball, football. And it was touching. So I knew the oldest one. He was there when this boy was shot and killed. And I called the headmaster. I said, when you tell him, you're gonna hear him through the halls of that school. I said, cause he's not gonna be able to take it. I said, but I've got his plane trip, his plane paid for, his ticket. I said, what you need to do is tell him that he needs to come home. You can tell him if you want to, once you get him to the airport. Cause he's not gonna take it easy. And it happened just like I thought it would. But I brought him back, but he did real good at that school. If he had stayed there, he could have walked into any college that he wanted to walk into.
Wow.
And he did so well, I sent the younger one. But they were so hung up with this gang thing because it was really taking over our young children.
Yeah.
And it was really sad, you know, and I was beating myself, coming and going, trying to make a difference. And I had to bring them back and let them live it. I just prayed to God, they're in your hands, I'm leaving it up to you. I've done all I could.
Yeah.
What will be, will be. Okay, Sarah. So anyway, I told them they owe me a high school education. And they did get that. My oldest son went to the Army because he was turning into a vegetable. He didn't want to do anything, didn't want to go anywhere. All he thought about was his cousin that was shot and killed for nothing.
Exactly.
He was wondering, why did God take him? He couldn't understand it. So he went to the Army and he had to deal with something else. Spiders as big as his hand. You know, he was a petroleum supply specialist. He had to lay pipe. He had to watch it all times of night. Little sleep. Saw buddies get shot and killed. Driving those Humvees, not knowing if they're gonna blow up. When he came back, they wanted him to do another tour. I said, you know what? Y'all got 2 years out of my son. You ain't getting no more.
Wow.
He's not going back. So he came back with a lot of, as a matter of fact, he's dealing with claims now with the VA because he has anxiety. He's got a lot of problems dealing with that Army. And a lot of other vets do. I mean, nobody want to deal with them. That's why we have so many homeless people.
Yeah.
A lot of the veterans are homeless.
Yeah, I see
because
that.
nobody want to deal with them.
Yeah.
But I couldn't turn my back on my children. That's why I say I kick myself in the rear, because I think I loved them too much. I was an enabler. Whatever they want, I made sure they got it. I didn't want them to live the kind of life that I lived.
Wow.
So that was the way I was with my children.
Wow. Pinpointing, going back to your son who was dear to his cousin in that loss, how did you help him navigate that part of his life? Because the reason why I'm saying is because as black men, it's hard for us to express emotions, different things that we go through. And so how did you help him get through that?
When he first came back, I had made an appointment with a psychiatrist. Mama, I'm not going and sit and talk to this man and tell him about what my problems are.
Yeah, that's most of us.
I said, but honey, that's the way you get help. I said, you know, he's gonna listen to you. He can't help me. He didn't feel it would do any good. So then we started looking for jobs, and he held down a few jobs, and then he got to the point where his anxiety and his aggression was taking over. He didn't want to be around people. He just kind of shied away. And I could tell that mentally it was bothering him.
Yeah.
So I just tried to stay as close to him as I could. That's why they're still at home with me. And I know there was a question, I can't remember who asked it. I think it may have been Steve Harvey or somebody like that. How many women would date a man who still live with their mother in their 30s? So it was a big percentage. I said, but mine are in their 40s. But that's okay, because I just lost a classmate, and her grandchildren found her in her house dead. You know, and I said, my sons weren't there, I would be at home by myself. So I'm glad they're home with me. I don't care what nobody says. Those are my children. And I'm responsible for them. Everything they do, I'm responsible.
Wow. Like, what are some things that they're currently doing now that you're proud of?
Oh, the youngest one, he is, listen, He's trying to go to Las Vegas. He's trying to go to Houston. He has a nonprofit, Nationwide Athletes. And boy, I'm telling you, this boy gets some chicks that are out of sight. He has workers, parents, to man these stands. And they pay a percentage of what they make in these stands. American Airlines Center, TCU, they've done TCU, they've done SMU, he's gone to Houston several times because he has a cousin that lives in Houston, so he gained some volunteers in Houston to man the stands, and so of course he give them a cut. So he's doing real good, and I'm proud of him and his venture.
Wow. I wanna go to your sister. It says here in your story that she was the first black airline stewardess from the Fort Worth Delta Airlines, February 1977. So take a moment to elaborate what your sister meant to you in that process.
Yes, that was my big sister. It was Valentine's Day that she left. Didn't think anything of it because, she was a flight attendant. She flew everywhere. She took the same trip that Nixon took when he was president. She even went to China. She met people like Flip Wilson, Red Fox. She dated Hank Crawford, Slappy White. Did I say Flip Wilson?
Yeah.
Other people like that. She even brought them to Fort Worth.
Wow.
We had a club called the Aquarium down on the corner of Rosedale and Evans. She brought it to our sugar shack. She brought that
That's the sugar shack.
to meet her mother. That's just the kind of person she was. And when she would come home, to me, it was like a celebrity. Even her apartment, it was all flash. She had all this nice, beautiful lamps and bed, and she gave me a round bed that I tried to keep forever, but I couldn't keep it. But she was just so above her time. But in '77, when she left, I was thinking she was coming back, and I'm doing my thing, and I'm time passing,
Right.
whatever. And my mother mentioned, she said, Charlotte, I hadn't heard from Brenda. I said, what? She said, no, she left in February. I said, oh my God, okay. Years passed, never hear any. People I would see that knew her would ask me, have you heard anything from Brenda?
Mhm.
No, I haven't heard nothing. So anyway, after 18 years,
Wow.
God, this was a writer for the Dallas Morning News. He was a friend of mine, and he asked me about it. He said, well, Charlotte, it's time for us to bring this up and see if we can get some answers.
Exactly.
I said, okay. So he met in my office at the courthouse where I worked, and we talked about it, and the next day the story came out. Missing woman, 18 years, still haunts the family, because I told him it haunted me, because I don't know what happened to my sister. I got to find out. I'm doing all this volunteering, I'm meeting myself, coming and going, trying to help other people. I said, my mother needs to know what happened to her daughter before she leaves here. So I started working on that, still doing my volunteer stuff, still taking care of my kids, still doing all that stuff too. And so then 10 years have passed. So now we're getting closer. I went to my judge. I said, Judge Bertram, you got to help me. I said, I got to find my sister. I need to know what happened to her. He said, well, Charlotte, because he was a city judge first. I don't know those people anymore. I said, yeah, but you know how to get to that department.
Right.
I said, what I need is some fingerprints. I need an investigator. I need to know how to get with the FBI, missing persons, forensic, all those people. I need to know. So what he did, he made a few calls. This guy came to my office, and I'm making this short because this is a long story. And by the way, I'm gonna write a book, and all this will be in my book, y'all.
Yes,
So
it's
really.
gonna be in the book coming soon, y'all.
But anyway, he came to my office to do a DNA swab. But see, back then, if they could trace fingerprints like they do today, she would have been found when she was missing. But it only went outside, it doesn't go outside your state. But now it does. See, and if they had did that back then, we would have known that they had found her in California.
Wow.
Brenda did not like to get a vaccination. You know, that's when we all used to get this shot in our arm, still have the scar there. But she allowed someone to shoot her in the arm with some heroin.
Wow.
So she somewhat got addicted to the heroin. And these people took her to California to be a tester, to test drugs.
Wow.
The drugs were so strong, she OD'd. When she OD'd, they didn't know what to do with her. So they put her in the car, took her body, and threw it 100 miles off Malibu Canyon over by O.J. Simpson's place.
Wow.
When her body was found, it was found in March. She left in February, her body was found in March, taken to the Los Angeles coroner. And they took fingerprints and all. And then she was buried like how they pump her, you know, how they put all the bodies in one thing, because it wasn't unusual in California to find dead women. And no identity, if they didn't find any identity, they just buried them. So anyway, that's where our body was, and that's what happened. So I did a memorial service for her. All the airline stewardess that remembered her came to the memorial. I got letters, I got pictures, I got all that. So anyway, she will never be forgotten.
Wow. So for you personally, do you feel like you truly healed from that situation?
No, I have not healed from it, because it didn't stop family members from using drugs. And that really pisses me off, because you would think, you see something like this happening to a family member and you still want to abuse drugs?
Wow.
So, you know, I don't knock anybody for what they do, and I'm not better than anybody else.
Right.
I could have been a drug dealer, I could have been a prostitute, I could have been a robber, stealer, killer, because I can do it all too. But I chose to be a mother and raise my children,
Wow.
and that's what I've done.
Wow. Moving up to your tenure here in Forest Hill, Fort Worth community, serving over 30 years. Walk us through the journey of seeing this library coming to fruition. Walk us through the backstory, what they look. I know you've been around this
Oh
library
my
for quite
God.
some time.
Oh, now
Well-
you really finna raise the hair on the back of my neck. Honey, starting this library, when we voted to have this library, it only passed by 14 votes. And the story is already there about Glenn Lewis, when he was a state representative, how he went in with Ms. Senator Keel, and they found a way that libraries of this size could create a library district. And that's what people don't understand, the difference in a district and a public library, because a district is operated by your sales tax. And the sales tax is the lifeblood of this library.
Wow.
Because if we didn't give sales tax, and that means that anybody who comes in and pay taxes in Forest Hill, the library gets 1/3 of it. So we were making about $20,000 a month from our library. We just put it in the bank. The city manager at that time, we had a library in the mall right down the street. This man closed the library, took all of our shelves, our books, and just gave them away like it was nothing.
Wow.
I mean, you know, and I know cities, when you're trying to cut the budget, the library is the first thing to go. For some reason, I don't know why, because it's such an asset to the city.
Yeah, I
Our
agree.
people need a library. People need a library. So anyway, we had to meet, we asked him if we could put a portable building on this land to start getting books, donated books, or whatever. We received so many books from Burleson Library. I mean, Coach Sanders, bless his heart, he's gone now. But he had a trailer. We would go over there and get all those books and pay storage fee to keep those books until our library was open.
Wow.
But it took so long, the books were not any good, so we just had to give them away, do away with them. you know, and that was money that was wasted. But we had to meet at Helen Collins' place on Wichita. She had a building over there. She let us rent out a room so we could meet, organize, and get going.
Right.
We got that going. Okay. Then we got a new city manager in. First thing he said, whatever I can do for y'all with this library, just let me know. I said, yes, sir, we need a place to meet. He gave us the building that used to be the Public Works building over on Hardin, which is over across from the police department. We met in there for a while and started meeting, and now it was time for us to get enough money and get this library going. So after that, we got enough money, the bank loaned us the rest of it, and this is history where we're sitting.
Wow. Walk us through your tenure of being a library board trustee since 2003, and how has that experience been for you?
The experience for me has been kind of hectic at times. Because there were times when some came in trying to change the way we did things in the library. So there were some people who ran, and our library board, everybody resigned and left me. I had to be the president, the secretary, and the treasurer.
Right.
You know, but I had to keep it going. I had no choice. I mean, I couldn't do everything.
Of course.
And everything wasn't perfect. But I kept it going. And I kept the bills paid. But it wasn't easy. So, anyway, we finally recovered from that. And we finally got some people on this library board that was interested in the library and doing the right thing. And so now that's where we are at this particular time. But as a trustee, you know, you oversee what happens in the library. And we've had to terminate people from the library. If it wasn't right for the library, we didn't need it. I mean, because this is an image of our library.
Yeah.
And our founder, number one, Miss Harvey, bless her heart, she was the one who started all this. She had a dream, you know, about a library in Forest Hill. And she got it going. She was the one who started that library at the mall.
Wow.
And she was the one that pulled me in, really, the Forest Hill Youth Association, because her husband was the coach. Like I said, when my sons were 4 and 5 years old, I had to put them in sports to exert some of that energy that they had. I was kind of turning flips in my house, and, you know, running around and busting their head and all that stuff. So baseball, football, basketball, we did it all. Concession stand, cleaning it up, serving the food, selling it, and all that. I mean, I did all that, so.
Wow.
No love lost. I mean, I enjoyed every bit of it, and it kept me going.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I can sit here now and talk about it.
Wow.
And don't look like I'm all drugged down.
No, you don't, Miss Charlotte. You in great shape. For you, what has been the most rewarding thing in regards to this library for you?
The most rewarding thing now is getting it where it needs to be. And by that, I mean, we have a library director.
Yes, we do.
And when he first came, I told him, I said, you know what? You're pretty young, brother. I said, you know what? This is your library, and it's gonna grow with you.
Wow.
As you grow, this library is gonna grow.
I like that.
And he has done that since day one.
Yes, he has.
Now, the other thing he did was brought in Miss Aurelia Wilson. Honey, that is a go-getter.
Yeah.
Now, I was so impressed with her that I said, where did she come from? She's been here a long time. I hadn't even heard of her. Where has she been working? How does she know how to do all this stuff?
Wow.
I mean, she started coming in, making things happen, cleaning out the storage, threw a lot of my stuff away though. But I know they had to get rid of a lot of stuff, you know, to make room for stuff. Because what she was bringing in, honey, we needed room for it.
Wow.
So I appreciate Miss Wilson. I appreciate our library director.
Yes.
I appreciate you, because really, I've seen these clerks come and go. I've seen library directors come and go. I've seen staff come and go. But look like these are here to stay.
Yeah.
Because they all have the library at heart. And the only thing I don't like is for people to use our library for a gravy train. We are not here to supplement anybody. You know, don't take advantage of us just because we are here.
Word.
You know, pay your way. Don't be trying to get away here with nothing. We're dealing with sales tax. Now, if people stop buying in Forest Hill and our money starts slowing down, what are we gonna do?
That's good.
We've got to figure out how to raise money, how to pay the ad on the back of this building.
Yes.
Because I want it to be big enough where my TERRELL class don't have to rent to the American Legion or the Swing Time anymore. We can pay our money right here at the library.
I love it, Miss Charlotte.
So that's what I'm looking for.
Word.
That's where I see the future of this library.
Word.
Because one while we had talked about, I said, you know what, the library could be used for a lot of different things. And I think I even mentioned podcasts. And look, what are we doing now? Doing podcasts every Wednesday. You know, and this is the kind of thing that we have to think about.
Yeah.
You know, and as I read about your president talking about firing libraries and closing down libraries and stuff like that, you know, Elon Musk is your president. So anyway, when you have people like that that's trying to generate us, they can't do it. They can't do it because we don't let them. We are a library district and we control this district. He may can do it for the public libraries, but he can't do it for a district.
Right.
We were voted in differently.
Word.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You laid the groundwork, Miss Charlotte. Very good. What are some director? What are some other things you're looking forward to seeing in regards to the expansion? What are some things you want to see here in this library?
Okay. Listen, now you know my thing is with our young people, programs, trying to involve our teens. We're kind of shying away from the gang violence and juvenile crime. You look like a young man, but you don't look like you ever involved in gangs. But I think that is a thing we need to do.
Yeah.
Is get our young people on a different level. Let them know, you know, in school, they can't do anything without an education.
I agree.
And the library is the secondary to the schools. So if we can get kids, find a way to get kids to come in here. If you're having a problem at school or whatever, we have somebody here financing. I know kids they don't know how to write checks. A lot of kids don't even know how to do a signature. They don't do cursive anymore.
True.
I said, you know what? Honey, I have a beautiful handwriting. But a lot of people don't. And I don't know where I got it. My mother had a beautiful handwriting too, and I think she dropped out of school probably in the 8th grade. But anyway, I think that's also something that you're born with. And both my boys are left-handed, and you can't even read their writing. But anyway, there is so much you can get out of this library. I mean, even putting puzzles together. And a lot of seniors, you know, the senior citizens, I'm glad they're coming over, utilizing the library because when you get old, you got to do something to trigger that mind.
I agree.
Make that brain work. If you sit around moping, not doing anything, they gonna bury you dead somewhere. So you got to keep moving. You got to keep your body going, motivated, doing something that's gonna make a difference.
Wow. Speaking of education, I'm looking here at your outline. You've done a lot of great things, but speaking on education, you have an associate's degree in sociology.
Yes.
Tarrant County Junior College in 1981. So how important is education to you?
Education is very important. Like I was just saying, you can't do anything without education. You got to have it. And if there was a way that we could see where children are not making the grades, you know, that's why they're talking about closing down schools now, because of the low attendance rate. If kids are not doing well in school, they don't want to go.
Yeah.
If they don't have anybody to help them, they don't want to go. So if we can touch those kids that are not passing at the level that they need to pass, I think we can incorporate some type of program where we can get them in this library and help them get educated.
Wow.
Yes.
I love it. Outside of the many hats that you wear, what are some things that Miss Charlotte does in her time to make sure she takes care of herself, whether it be in regards to self-care?
I go to the casino. That's my only downtime, really, because I'm meeting myself coming and going. I still do that. So to block everything out, you know, you have to find yourself. And I find myself when I hear that ting 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 ting.
That's hilarious.
It's not too much I do. I visit churches. My classmates, they all go to different churches, so I do attend a lot of different churches. And really, I'm not sacrilegious, but I grew up in church. But when I saw the deacon put a lock on the door and call the police, I thought, this is not the church I was raised in. This is not the God I believe in. So I couldn't go back to that church.
Right.
So anyway, I just visit churches now, and if I ever find one that can pull me in, I'll go. And then another thing though, when my nephew was shot and killed, my youngest boy, Reverend Michael Bell, and the mother of one of his friends, who is my neighbor, she took him to church with her, and he joined church. I said, oh my God, if I can find a preacher who can get somebody in church at 14 and get them baptized and believe in going to church, I said, I'm following him. So I went to his church.
Right.
Also. But anyway, that's what I do. I mean, really, it's hard. It's hard. And now, my brother, after my mother passed, my baby brother, he was a mama's boy. And oh my God, he's got pictures all over the kitchen. And he wants every Wednesday when he's off, he wants his big sister to come over and sit with him. So, you know, we talk, and his son and his twin son, they're about the same age. So if we have time, we all come over and just kind of sit and talk and just kind of reminisce. And when they start asking me questions about what happened to your dad and what happened to Brendan, what happened to this one or that one, and that's why I told them I need to write a book so that y'all can read about it.
Right.
Because it's hard for me to just, like now, I have to skip over things because there's so much that I have. I can't put it all together in a timetable, but if I do a book, I can. So I told them, so when I go back tonight, I'll have some more information for them.
Considering, I mentioned this when we had our Black Authors event this past Saturday, that I don't believe that Black History is just dedicated to 1 month. I believe it's year round because of all the accomplishments and things that we do throughout the year, or just in general. So I kind of want you to elaborate on this Black Women Lawyer Association of Tarrant County Ruth E. Roberts Community Service Award. What does that entail?
Okay, that is about a lady who made a difference, and she passed away. So they named an award after her. You know, sometimes when people pass on, to keep the name going, they name the award after them. But a lot of these Black lawyers, they practice law in the court that I worked at. I retired from Tarrant County Probate Court number 2 after 40 years of service. Thank you. At 75.
Wow.
And I've been retired 5 years.
Wow.
So anyway, a lot of those lawyers knew the practice in my court. They worked with me, and they knew, you know, when they open the paper and read about me, or they see where I've done something, you know, and a lot of these organizations, they do have to, these sororities and things, they do have to recognize somebody every year as a part of their organization too. So, of course, they say, well, Charlotte, yeah, she did this, she did it. Yeah, girl, let's get Charlotte. Okay. So even, I don't know if you saw that Black Pastors Award, political award.
I saw that too.
I hadn't even heard of that. But that was because I marched and protested against the Forest Hill Police Department.
Wow.
But I did that because they were harassing our young people during that time. Got a memorandum of understanding. We had a Black police chief at that time who was playing golf, you know, and wasn't really concerned about our kids or whatever. But when the kids called me, kids that went to school, you know, and knew me from school and all that, they called me and told me how they were being harassed. And I said, well, we just have to make some noise.
Wow.
And of course, I called Michael Bell, who was that preacher that I was talking about, who got my son in, and Lee Alcorn from Dallas, and we made some noise, and we got a memorandum of understanding.
Wow.
So it was taken care of. But that's what I say, the squeaky wheel get the grease.
I guess I'm gonna ask this question. If you could eat dinner with 4 historical people, who would it be and why?
4 historical people, dead or alive.
Yeah, we could do it. Who would it be and why?
Malcolm X,
Okay.
Sounds about right.
Martin Luther King, Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Fannie Lou, yes. Michelle Obama.
Mm.
And they all will have to like what I like.
Was that 3 or 4?
That was 4.
That was 4? Okay. Why those 4?
Because they all made a significant mark on Black history. And Malcolm X, to know that he was killed by someone who looked like him was really devastating. Michelle Obama, she is a strong Black woman.
Yes, she is.
And she ain't gonna take no crap off nobody, and I don't either. Harriet, did I say Harriet Tubman? No.
Fannie Lou.
Fannie Lou Hamer, yeah. Because of the way she was treated during the voting rights, trying to get the right for people to vote. She was abused and beaten, but she didn't give up. But she fought, she continued to fight, and that's where she coined the phrase, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Well, going to some of your...
And Martin Luther King,
Oh,
of course,
yeah.
we all know him,
yeah.
worldwide, no doubt about it.
Going to some of your volunteer work, you were part of the Forest Hill Youth Association in 1984, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. How did that partnership form?
That was, like I said, that was Miss Harvey's husband, who was over it, Coach Harvey. And when she got me involved, she told me about the youth association when my boys were 4 and 5, and that's why we would go up to the ballpark, and that's where they played baseball and football. And of course, my boys were on all teams every year until they got too old. They outgrew it. And so while I was there, of course, we had to pick up trash, clean up the park, do the concession stand, buy the food to sell, you know, and clean up the concession stand and stuff like that. So that was the way that I was involved with my kids. And unfortunately, there were some kids whose parents never came to pick them up. I would have to take them home, you know, and if I had fed my kids, I had to feed them too. So that was just another way that kids who my kids were involved with, they were my kids too, and they still call me mama.
I love it. I love it. Staying on volunteer work, I saw something that was very interesting. You were Miss Juneteenth pageant coordinator from
98.
Yeah, to 99.
Yes.
You don't sound too.
Well, no, Miss Overly.
Oh Lord.
No, Miss Overly, and I'm saying this because in 1998, Miss Overly first had called me in to organize. She at the convention center downtown. Miss Overly is gonna go big or go home. She went big, honey. She wanted to have a pageant, queen, you know, crown, not the Miss America crown, but the African type crown. And it was real good. The girls, they had a talent. They had to say why they wanted to be Miss Juneteenth, and we had judges to select them. And we did that. But this one particular young lady, she, in 1998, she went to college, and a dirty SOB, he brutally killed this young lady. At 20 years old, she was in college, her and her boyfriend put them in the car and took them away. This boy had killed so many people, and he was a gang member. I just happened to be up one night, and so that's why I felt bad when you asked me about that Juneteenth, because this brings back memories for this beautiful young lady who had a lot of potential, a cheerleader at her college, and it just had been accepted to Spelman.
Wow.
And her life is gone. And this guy, like, it was nothing for him to kill people, whoever. And anyway, the mother watched him get executed, but that didn't bring her daughter back. You know, and that was just so sad. That's my reminder of the Miss Juneteenth pageant.
Wow. Going back to this library, how it was built and created, how was your relationship with Miss Harvey?
That was my other mother.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, honey, when she introduced me to her kids, she introduced me as one of hers.
Mm.
Whatever she had at her house, we would sit at her table. We would get things done. It was nothing. She always called me in, informed me about what was going on, and I'm glad she taught me everything she did, because if she hadn't, I wouldn't have known what to do.
Exactly.
And when she stepped down, you know, I wanted to step down too. I said, oh my God, I can't do this without her. But she had taken so much slack that she just didn't want to do it anymore, and it was interfering with her health. So when she stepped back, she said, no, you got to keep going, you got to keep going, you'll find somebody. I'll find somebody, but you always find people. So anyway, we did.
Wow.
And we had a very good relationship. We really did. And her son, really, just a couple of months ago, he's in Thailand, and he grows mustard greens. And I got a call to see if I wanted the mustard greens. Well, you know I do. I'll come get them. So they don't forget about me.
Wow.
And then her oldest son, he does trips to Dubai and South Africa and places like that. And every time he sets a trip, I've either got to pay taxes or something. I'm not able to go, but I'm gonna figure out this time. I think he's got one coming up that I wanna really go to Dubai.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Last question. I know you have an amazing story. You've served in so many capacities, community work, volunteer work, and a lot of people know you here in the Forest Hill and Forward community. So my last question would be, as far as a servant leader, what qualities should a servant leader have in order to be an effective leader? What would be some main qualities?
Okay, like I said, leaders are born, they are not made.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing, they have to have a heart. If they wear the heart on their sleeve, I'm sorry. You have to be committed. You have to be educated. You have to know what you want. You have to know where you want to take whatever you're leading. You have to have the mindset to say, okay, I'm giving up this, because some things you do have to give up.
Yes,
To be a
totally,
leader.
I agree.
You have to give up things to be a leader. And in order for people to follow you, you've got to not worry about if they like you or not, because a lot of people are not gonna like you. They're not gonna like what you say, they're not gonna like what you do. But you have to not worry about that, because that can hold you down. If you gonna worry about what people say and what people do, forget it.
Wow. That is, okay. Well, keep, my brother, to the left. You got any questions as we wrap this up from Miss Charlotte Hogan-Price? Anything on your heart?
I'm gonna just have to talk to her.
Did I even make an impact? Did you even understand what I was saying?
Yeah, I understood a whole lot what you were saying.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
You left a huge impact. I didn't even know that as soon as I entered the library, I had to take a picture of the lady that started it. I was just like, oh,
Good, I'm glad. Listen, the day she died, her children called me and asked me if I wanted that picture. That was a picture we took. Let me see. God, we were having something downtown. And she said, y'all have to bury me in this dress, much as I paid for it. But anyway, they gave me that picture, and I called the city. I said, somebody got to come put this picture up right now in the library.
Wow.
And so they did. I'm glad you noticed that.
Wow.
yeah, that was the
That's
first
huge.
thing I noticed.
That's good, thank you, that's why it's there.
Wow.
There's two questions that came in.
Okay,
I don't
go
know
ahead,
if you
go
can answer one of them, but the first question is, what is your favorite duty of service, and what can we look forward to from you?
My favorite
Duty of service?
My favorite duty of service is working with our young people And what was the other one?
And then the next question would be, whom are you endorsing for mayor?
For what city? I don't endorse.
Okay.
No questions?
I didn't know they called him that.
Yeah, people in the chat. That's all we
Yeah.
got.
But you had a lot of comments. A lot of people said you need to go ahead and write the book.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna go up. You had an invitation to go visit the Berea Baptist Church over here.
Oh,
Okay.
I've been there a lot of times.
Oh, you have?
Miss Di, the author that was here Saturday, Miss Di Jones, said she'll ride with you to the casino.
Where you wanna go, baby?
You wear many hats and they grateful for you. What else? The growth is astonishing. The library has so much to offer, from computer courses, evening outings, clean and resourceful, fun for all genres, painting and crafts, and much more. What else?
The young lady who did the balloons.
Where at? Miss Contessa. She's the lady that did the balloon. She said, such a strong woman.
I need you, Miss Contessa. I need to talk to you.
What else? Okay, I think that's it. I think I said everything. Okay.
Wow. Good stuff. Yeah, we got people in the chat, Miss
Well,
Charles.
good. I didn't know that. I didn't know if I was supposed to look at that, if it's live or whatever. Can they see my face?
Yes.
Can they see us?
It's loud, Miss Charles. Every week.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. I had a good time.
I don't do Facebook and stuff like that because my class should have been looking at it.
Wow. Well, we'll have it on YouTube too.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be on both platforms. But today was great, Miss Charlotte. I
Well,
appreciate
good. I'm glad. I didn't know really just where I was going with it and how to follow my tracks because there's so much I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah. I mean, if we gotta do a part 2, then we can always do a part 2.
What you look at the list,
Yeah.
the long laundry list that I have.
Yeah. Well, that is it, y'all. This is Ordinary Conversations with Extraordinary People. Your host, Willie Bean. We have concluded our Black History series for this month. Stay tuned for March as we celebrate Women's History. We will see y'all next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Peace.